Okay, continue the Godzilla versus other larger sort of creatures. I decided the best way to go was to go with an anime that I absolutely loved, was the Big O. Now the Big O kind of had a the main character was a negotiator, so this guy was kind of like James Bond and Batman. Now put him in a gigantic robot. A robot that had these huge, like, piston arms, fired a laser beam from its head, and was just an absolutely destructive force that was used essentially for good. The Pig-O by itself was actually fantastic anime. You know, it had a very, very short run in anime terms. So I decided, why not put this giant robot controlled by, essentially, like I said, Batman meets James Bond, put him against the king of monsters, Godzilla. So as always, it is the 9 criterion. As you can tell, I'm in a hotel room in Manhattan, Kansas, the Little Apple. So we've got, as always, intelligence, fighting ability, speed, strength, durability, and vulnerability, energy projection, versatility, and X factor. So we're right into it. Intelligence. Like I said, you've got a guy who essentially is like Batman meets James Bond versus a giant lizard. So gotta give the intelligence head to the Big O. Fighting ability. You know, again, the negotiator is just a fan. He's great at hand to hand. And he's controlling a robot that he pretty much knows in and out. So again, I'm definitely going to give him a fighting edge ability in this. Speed. You know, the Big O actually had an awful lot of speed to it. But it still ended up having this kind of almost like clockwork sort of feel to it. So I'm not going to give the speed advantage to the Big O. I'm going to give the speed advantage to Godzilla. Strength advantage. You know, this one I'm actually going to give to the Big O. The Big O had a tremendous amount of strength. You know, not to mention that also had essentially like kind of like giant pistons attached to its arms to give itself extra strength. Now, for durability, I'm going to have to go with Godzilla on this one. You've got a lot of small arms fire that can come off of the Big O, but Godzilla just can take a tremendous amount of beating. Now we're at durability. Again, to Godzilla. Godzilla actually can pretty much fully recover from just about any sort of damage, versus essentially a giant robot who doesn't have any sort of natural recuperative systems. So now we're down to energy projection. Now you look at the Big O had a laser beam that came from its head. It also had the ability to transform itself into essentially a gigantic cannon. But I'm still just off of raw damage potential going to give it to Godzilla, because Godzilla's radioactive breath is just ridiculous. So now we're down to the versatility. Versatility has to go to Big O. Big O has got a tremendous amount of, you know, different sorts of attacks and abilities. It can launch anchors from itself if you need to hold on to an opponent. It has a decent amount of flying abilities. It also can summon a force field for a little while, as well as transform into an absolutely giant cannon. So right now we're pretty well covered, not into the overall important X factor. And with this one, I'm going to give the X factor actually to the Big O, because the Big O does have, you know, a force field that lasts for a little while. You probably think I might give the Big O the advantage in invulnerability then. Yeah, I'd probably say I could have, but you know, the force field doesn't last for a tremendously long period of time. So I give it more kind of like an X Factor sort of feel. And normally you would use the force field to then launch the anchors and transform them into a giant cannon. So I think it's got a little bit more on the background side, the ability side than Godzilla does. And like always, you've got essentially a Batman style character in control of a giant robot. You're probably saying, but their sizes are different. For the purpose of these, I'm going to have the exact same size. If I was telling you Optimus Prime versus Godzilla, I'd make them the exact same size, which would make a ridiculously huge truck. I'm well aware of that. But if the Big O, controlled by the negotiator, were to actually go against Godzilla, I picture a lot of that city being absolutely destroyed. But at the end of the day, you know what? I think Big O would probably put a hurting on Godzilla, and you know what? Probably win. And I'm not thinking Big O's not going to be damaged, but I think at the end of the day, the Big O has enough abilities and enough of a person behind controlling the Big O to easily go Showtime all over Godzilla.